This video is going to be a sequel to my previous video where I talked about the basics of Git. Now today I want to talk about the basics of Git configuration. So we're going to go through where the config file is located, how you can configure Git, and also what are the different configuration options and the ones that I use. So let's just get straight into it. The cool thing about Git is that I'm going to open up a terminal here. You can have like two Git configuration options, right, for identifying yourself, and Git will just work. You can use it. That's what a lot of people use actually, but you can add like a little bit of extra configuration and it makes your life so much easier. So you can also use the Git CLI for configuring, so you actually don't have to open the Git configuration file with your text editor at all. You can just use git config to like change your entire config, which is also pretty cool. So I'll talk about the configurations that I use and some basic configurations, right, stuff like that. I've actually deleted or backed up my git config. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this git config directory .config git and create .config git config, and I'm not going to edit that file right now. I'm just going to create an example repo, which we already did in the previous video, but I deleted it, and I'll open like test.txt file. This is just to show off Git, right? So we'll initialize the repository, and without a config you'll get this message right here, or these hints: using master as the name for the initial branch, blah blah blah. Just ignore that. We will add test.txt git commit, and you'll see that all of these went fine, but this thing will give you an error, right? So it's going to say that author identity unknown, because Git doesn't know who you are. So this is where you can configure Git, and you can see that it's really cool. You just run shell commands and it updates your Git config in real time. So I'm going to go like this: git config -- global. So if you don't use global, it's gonna put your config in .git / config, this file right here. So this is your repository configuration, and it's gonna put your user configuration in that file as well, but we don't want that. So we'll say git config -- global user.email is going to be your email address. So for example, you could do like, I don't know, billy@gmail.com or whatever, right? I'm gonna use whatever my old email was. I think this is it. And then we'll give the user.name. So you just need to give your full name or your whatever you want. And oops, made a typo there. Again made a typo there. There we go. Now if you check out your config, so you go to .config git config, you'll see that you have your user section. So it's like normal, right? You have your user section, and then you have your email, and then you have your name. Brilliant. So now we've got Git configuration that makes Git work. Now we can commit stuff like that. But I'm gonna remove the Git directory here, and I'm gonna say git init, and you'll see here that we get these hints. So let's just fix these hints. All you have to do is just this. So go ahead and copy that, paste that. Git will give you these hints when you're using Git, and that just makes your life a lot easier. So let's see what this is. Again, we're changing our configuration file, our global configuration file. We're saying initialization default branch, so that is going to be the default branch that Git creates, and I'm gonna choose main. So I'm not gonna use master, I'm gonna use main. Now if I edit my git config, you can see here I've got my default branch set to main, and I'll actually say gconfig equals vim.config for convenience. And now we've got a pretty solid Git config, right? Just with those, I think 3 commands. And now if we actually push to a remote, so I'm gonna do git remote add origin, and then we'll say like, I don't know, git at git.sourcehut : and we'll pick like my, I don't know, my cool project. So we made this yesterday. we made our cool project, right? So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to say git push, and you'll find another error here. So when you want to do git push and you don't have a config, you're going to have to always do -- set upstream origin master first, or main, because that's the branch we created. Will actually git automatically main master for us, so we don't want to do that. So I'm going to say like this, git config -- global, and I'll say push dot what was it, auto setup remote, right? So auto capital S setup, and I think it was also capital R, yeah, remote, and I'll set that to true. So now if I do git config, you can see that now we have a push config, we have our auto setup remote, and this is actually the git configuration that I use. I don't use anything else. But if you do want to know more git stuff, so we'll just redo our git initialization using our new git config. Okay, I'm gonna say git init, we're gonna say git add test.txt. See, there's no hints now. We'll go ahead and git commit initial commit, and we'll git push, and oh oops, forgot to add the remote. Will do like a origin git at git.source heights. We'll say my cool project. We'll go ahead and git push, and it's not gonna ask for my remote this time, it's just gonna push. I'm actually not gonna push. I probably didn't give a proper remote, that's why it's taken a while, but it is gonna work. So we've got a pretty solid git config. Now if you want to know more git config keys, you can go to man, and you can say git config. So this has like all of the stuff that you'd want, right? So the more you use git, the more recommendations it gives, and you can just apply those recommendations, right? These hints of, hey, you should probably do this stuff like this, blah blah blah, and it's basically just gonna make your life a lot easier. So those like push auto setup remote and initialization default branch, those are like the hints that I discovered and I did, and basically made my git experience a lot faster. But wow, this is a huge man page. It should have like push, let's just search for it, auto setup dot auto setup remote. Yeah, there it is. So we have all of these options here, like pull.rebase, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's got a lot of configuration options, but like you can use so few configuration, and it just makes it so usable. So yeah, git is a very simple program. Anyways, that's pretty much going to be it for my git configuration tutorial, blah blah blah, and I hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.